Before the start of the 1995-96 season, the Chicago Bulls made a move that stunned the NBA. They traded their backup center, Will Perdue, for Dennis Rodman, a man who was as famous for rebounding as he was for causing chaos.
Of all the offseason moves in the NBA, none got more attention than San Antonio's trade of Dennis Rodman to the Chicago Bulls. The planet's best rebounder is also one of its most eccentric characters, and therein lies the dilemma for those who have dealt with the worm. Does his personality detract from the skills he brings to the arena? The Bulls will find out.
For Chicago, it was a gamble. For San Antonio, it was a sigh of relief. The Spurs were done with Rodman. His antics, his clashes with coaches, and his unpredictable behavior had worn thin. They were happy to ship him away, even if it was just for Will Perdue.
Dennis realized that in his own way, he had to straighten out, and he had to play seriously, or else his career was over.
For Michael Jordan, there was no grudge. Yes, the 80s and early 90s Bulls and Pistons were bitter rivals. Yes, the games were brutal, but Horace Grant was gone, off to Orlando in 1994, and Chicago desperately needed an elite rebounder. Rodman was the answer, baggage and all.
How was that, though? I mean, was Michael into you being on the team?
He was into me because I just rebound, give him the ball. So I give him the ball, so so he was into me because they needed a rebounder.
His dresses doesn't bother me. His hair doesn't bother me. Sure, I mean, he's going to go wacko every now and then. We've come to live with that. We've come to accept that. But you can't find another player on the basketball court that works just as hard as Dennis Rodman. So I don't have a problem with Dennis.
But Scottie Pippen, on the other hand, didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for him at first.
How comfortable were you with Dennis having Dennis as a teammate? Did it take you a little bit?
It was a tough sale. I definitely can say I wasn't overly excited to get him.
And you can't really blame him. Back in 1991, during Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Bulls and Pistons, Rodman shoved Pippen out of bounds right into the stands, resulting in Pippen needing stitches on his chin. But that moment got overshadowed when the Pistons infamously walked off the court without shaking hands on the same night. Sometime after the incident, Rodman supposedly sent Pippen an apology letter, but Pippen didn't even believe that Dennis wrote it himself. Fast forward to 1995, when Rodman was traded to Chicago. Again, Pippen had mixed feelings about Rodman joining the team after what happened back in 91.
Michael told a story on the 30 for 30 about how Scottie didn't want you on the team. So he was with it, Phil was with it, but Scottie was like, hell no.
So before Rodman ever suited up for the Bulls, Phil Jackson forced him to apologize to Pippen face-to-face this time. Pippen accepted, and from that point, he was on board, even though they didn't say a word to each other for the first 6 months they were teammates.
So you and Scottie never had a conversation? You had to have a conversation at some point.
Oh, we talked after a while. After 6 months when I was there, we started.
6 months?
6 months. Yeah, after 6 months, we started talking on the court and off the court and stuff like that.
But it didn't matter. They had one goal: to win championships.
Well, Dennis, if I would have said to you 4 years ago, you're going to be in Chicago playing basketball, what would have been your response?
It's kind of strange, you know.
Together, they formed an unstoppable force. Whatever bad blood there once was buried under a pile of Larry O'Brien trophies.
I'd like to really thank one individual on this team that had to step to me. He didn't have to, but he gave me warmth and the care and all in the world. I'd like to say thank you to Scottie Pippen, and I apologize for what happened 5 years ago.
Now, you're sadly mistaken if you think Pippen was the only enemy Rodman made. When Shaquille O'Neal entered the NBA in 1992, he was unlike anything the league had ever seen. A 7'1", 300-pound freak of nature who could bulldoze through any defender. Every player feared him, every player except Dennis Rodman. Rodman wasn't intimidated because in his mind, he had already faced giants. Back in his college days at Southeastern Oklahoma State, Rodman claimed he used to pick up 450-pound cows for training. His words, not mine. So when a young Shaq came storming into the league, Rodman was already prepared for battle. Their first real showdown came on January 2nd, 1993. Rodman was in his final year with the Detroit Pistons, while Shaq was a rookie phenom with the Orlando Magic. At first, Bill Laimbeer was assigned to guard O'Neal. For 2.5 quarters, Laimbeer couldn't do a thing. Shaq was scoring at will, but with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter, Pistons head coach Ron Rothstein turned to Rodman. From that moment on, Shaq didn't make another field goal. Yes, he still finished with 29 points, but almost all of those came against Laimbeer. Rodman's defense completely flipped the game.
Rodman doing a pretty good job on Shaquille. Yes, he is.
I mean, he is just accepting the challenge of Shaquille right now and doing an excellent job. I mean, a real good job guarding him.
It looks like Dennis supposedly picking up all those cows came in handy. The Pistons barely escaped with a 1-point victory, and probably would have lost if Rodman didn't step in when he did. After the game, Rodman twisted the knife with a sarcastic jab. Fast forward to 1996. The Bulls had been stunned by Shaq and the Orlando Magic in the 95 playoffs, but this time was different. Michael Jordan had fully shaken off his retirement rust, and Chicago added Dennis Rodman. In Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Shaq had the hot hand early. Luke Longley couldn't stop him. Bill Wennington couldn't stop him. Phil Jackson knew he had to do something, so he finally put Rodman on him, and everything changed.
Well, Dennis Rodman has had some success with playing Shaq, even though Dennis only weighs about 218 pounds. Isn't it amazing what a good defensive job Dennis Rodman does? He has the strength somehow to make Shaq take a shot rather than get bulled to the basket.
Shaq ended with 27 points, but only 2 of those were on Rodman. Then came Game 4. Again, Shaq dominated early against Longley, but once Rodman switched onto him, Shaq completely disappeared. He scored 28 in the game, but just 3 points came against Rodman, all from free throws. He didn't attempt a single field goal when Rodman was the primary defender.
Rodman has certainly done an effective job defending against Shaquille.
The Bulls swept the Magic. Jordan's 45 points in Game 4 may have grabbed the headlines, but Rodman's suffocating defense on Shaq was the hidden story.
Like they say, no matter how big he is, he can fall just as easy.
That summer, Shaq signed a groundbreaking 7-year, $120 million contract with the Los Angeles Lakers, but Dennis Rodman publicly stated that he didn't think Shaq was worth the money.
It's funny when guys like Dennis Rodman was with, a lesser team, he didn't talk as much. But then when you get behind Jordan and Pippen and they do all the work and he just do a little bit of work, he wants to run his mouth. But if he wants something to say, he can say it to me. But he never says to me on the court. Never.
December 17th, 1996, the Lakers vs. Bulls in a game remembered by many as the first matchup between Kobe Bryant and his idol Michael Jordan. But the real subplot was Shaq vs. Rodman. Early on, the Bulls had no answer for Shaq. He torched their bigs for 23 points in the first half, giving the Lakers a 15-point lead going into halftime. And after adding 4 more quick points in the beginning of the third quarter against Bill Wennington, bringing his point total to 27, that's when Phil Jackson made the switch. Rodman was put on Shaq. From that moment on, Shaq never scored again, not a single point for the rest of the game. He only attempted 1 field goal on Rodman the entire time.
Shaquille O'Neal in the fourth quarter, no points, no field goals attempt, no free throws, no rebounds.
Shaq's only got 2 baskets in the half. Pass knocked away and out of bounds. Shaquille O'Neal has not scored a point since very early in the third quarter. He's got 27.
Shaq had no idea that his 27th point he scored on Wennington earlier in the third quarter would be his last of that game. The Bulls stormed back from 22 down to win the game. And near the end, after Rodman and Jerome Kersey got into it, Shaq stepped in and shoved Rodman. Some believed he was sticking up for his teammate, but many saw it as Shaq finally venting his frustration at the one defender who had completely shut him down.
Great rebounding, terrific job on Shaq defensively in the second quarter, and nice free throws at the end.
Oh, yeah. Shaq only had, 6 points in the second half or something like that?
Are any of us surprised that Dennis Rodman knew exactly how many points Shaquille had?
Yes.
Ironically, in 1999, the two became teammates on the Lakers, but by then, Rodman was past his prime. His outrageous behavior that Chicago tolerated didn't sit well in LA. The Lakers weren't willing to put up with the drama. Rodman lasted just 23 games.
It was hard because I knew the fact that Shaq and Kobe wouldn't like me because a whole attention became Dennis. It shifted from them to me quick. They rarely would talk to me.
Years later, when Shaq was asked about his worst teammate ever, he didn't hesitate. Out of all the teammates he has ever had while playing for 6 franchises over his 19-year career, he chose Rodman. Again, Rodman only played 23 games with the Lakers, but apparently that was more than enough time for Shaq to make that determination.
Okay, so you gave me your favorite teammate. Who was your worst teammate? And why was he your worst?
Worst teammate? Dennis Rodman. He made it hard. Like when you're trying to corral the guys together, and then the people above you letting this one guy do whatever he wants. So we have to be there an hour before the game. He come in 50 minutes before the game.
While the coach is talking, he'll jump in the shower. After the game, don't take a shower.
If Shaq is still taking shots to this very day, then so can Rodman.
Don't make me put Satnam Singh on your ass and dunk on your ass like the Utah Jazz did in '98.
Wow.
I want an answer, and I want it now.
Guess what, guys? You know what's amazing? When I was playing basketball, Shaq was that big. I whooped his ass.
Shaq was the most dominant physical force of his era, but Rodman, the relentless, fearless defender, was one of the few who could make him look human. When Steph Curry entered the NBA in 2009, one of the first veteran stars to take him under his wing was Chris Paul. Paul, already an all-star and one of the league's smartest floor generals, showed him how to navigate life in the NBA. For a while, Curry looked up to Paul like a big brother. Fast forward to the 2014 playoffs. The Warriors and Clippers met in the first round. In Game 3, with the series tied at 1 game apiece, Curry had the ball in his hands with about 7 seconds left and a chance to give Golden State a 2-1 lead. He missed, but not without controversy. Many believe Chris Paul fouled him on the play. The refs didn't call it. The Clippers took the game and eventually the series in 7. After that series, things started to change. It was becoming clear that Steph Curry was on the rise, and rumors began to spread that Chris Paul might not have liked it. Curry's confidence grew, and so did his highlight reel, including a memorable crossover that put Paul on skates. Each one only added fuel to the talk that CP3 was jealous of Steph's rapid rise to stardom. By 2018, Paul had teamed up with James Harden on the Houston Rockets. They dominated the regular season, finishing with the best record in the NBA. In one regular season game against the Warriors, cameras caught Paul pretending to laugh at something Steve Kerr said, only to immediately stop laughing once Kerr looked away. Subtle but telling.
Why did I fake laugh at Steve Kerr? It wasn't funny.
When the Rockets met the Warriors in the 2018 Western Conference Finals, it was Paul versus Curry all over again. In Game 3, Steph hit a big shot and broke out his signature shimmy. In Game 5, CP3 threw the shimmy right back at him.
If you can shimmy on somebody else, you gotta be alright getting shimmied on.
Houston went up 3-2, but unfortunately, Paul injured his hamstring and couldn't play the last 2 games. Golden State took the series in 7. The Rockets swore they would have beaten the Warriors if Paul had been healthy. The very next year, the two teams met again. This time, it was Kevin Durant who got hurt as the Warriors took a 3-2 lead. It looked like things might finally break Houston's way. Before Game 6, Steph Curry tried to get in some extra practice at the Rockets arena, and Chris Paul wouldn't let him. Big mistake. Curry went scoreless in the first half, but erupted for 33 points in the second half, eliminating Houston once again. In 2020, while with the Thunder, Paul was asked to build the ultimate point guard, using different players' skills. He named several stars, but left out Curry entirely, choosing Gilbert Arenas and Steve Nash for shooting ability. Fans noticed, and it definitely felt intentional. March 2023, Warriors vs. Suns. Steph drives on Paul, scores the and-one, and lets him know this ain't 2014 no more, referring to the last time Paul got the better of him in the playoffs.
If you read his lips, he got up and he said, this ain't 2014 no more. And I appreciated the bar by Steph Curry because you got to dig into that comment. That's pretty much saying the last time you were better than me was 2014. That's 9 years ago. Like, this haven't been a debate since 2014. 9 years ago? That's almost a decade. That's a bar.
Paul tried to play it off, acting like he didn't know what Steph was talking about.
Shit, I don't know what happened in 2014.
The Clippers?
It's like 9 years ago. What happened?
But the message was clear. Curry remembered. And yet, after all those years of back and forth trash talk and petty moments, Steph still welcomed him with open arms when Chris became a Warrior in the summer of 2023.
After all these years, though, with you and CP going at each other, is there like a mental/emotional adjustment to having him on your side?
No, that'll be pretty easy. I think you get over that pretty quickly once the trade happens. And CP, can't wait to rock with you, brother. It's gonna be different with us on the same side. Let's get it. Let's get it.
But Draymond Green, however, wasn't too thrilled.
I said there's zero fucking chance I'm ever playing with Chris Paul. It's not happening.
Chris is the way he is. I am the way I am. He not changing who he is at this point.
I'm not changing who I am at this point. The same sentiments I had about Chris, like, they don't just leave. And the same sentiments Chris had about me, like, they don't just leave. And I think that's where people get things so fucked up. It's like, all of a sudden you gotta fake this thing or fake that thing. No, like to just go front and act like all of those things was fake, like, I'm just not gonna be like, oh man, that changed, now he's my teammate. No.
Draymond openly admitted several times that he didn't like Chris Paul.
I hate Chris Paul. Easily 100% my least favorite person in the NBA.
I don't like CP at all. Like, we don't have a good relationship at all.
If you've ever watched Chris compete, he's kind of an asshole. You may say the same thing about me, and that's okay. But
sure, the history they have with each other hasn't been friendly, but Paul was ready to chase that elusive ring alongside them.
Do you have any message to Dub Nation?
I'm excited. And, you know I've been sort of the sworn enemy for a long time, but I cannot wait to be there, and I cannot wait to get in the locker room with all those guys. So
Draymond eventually came around, determined to make it work.
My goal this year is to help Chris Paul get his first championship.
Obviously, it didn't pan out like they wanted it to, but for what it's worth, Chris Paul is already one of Draymond's top 5 teammates ever.
But if I put up a list of teammates, and like I went down this list, and it's been 12 years now for me, and I went through this list, I start putting my list in order of my top teammates. I haven't done the exercise, but what I'm certain of is that you're top 5 and like my list of top teammates.
In the NBA, rivalries can spark from the smallest of moments. It all began on January 30th, 2018. The Oklahoma City Thunder were facing the Washington Wizards, and Paul George decided to show off. In true streetball fashion, he went for an and-one style move right on Kelly Oubre, but instead of a highlight, it became a heated moment. The play ended with the two going chest to chest, exchanging words.
I remember when you and KO got into it.
Yeah.
That was a great highlight. That was funny.
That's the one where you came on the court like doing all this crazy stuff. And I was in my feelings, like, yeah, because the young guys, they talk a lot of crap. I took it personal.
Fast forward nearly 2 years later, just 1 minute into the game, Oubre delivered his payback, slamming home a dunk right on Paul George, then proceeds to stare him down. But George wasn't about to let that slide.
He did dunk on you though.
He got
you back.
He did. So when he did that, and he get to chirping, and he dunked on me, and I was like, fuck. At that point, it's personal. Like, I got to get him back.
Did you get him back?
I got him back.
Throws it away. George gets it back with Oubre to beat it. He flushes it in. And stares him down.
You can see right away they're talking, and all of a sudden PG said, oh man, I'm going to get you back and put you in the rim.
Then came March 24th, 2024. George drove to the rim for what looked like an easy dunk until Oubre chased him down, meeting him at the rim with a ferocious block. The rejection sent the ball flying, and George immediately pleaded for a foul, but the whistle never came.
He thought he got fouled, but let me see, did I push him? No, I didn't. This is clean. Oh, I did push him in the back a little bit.
Just 3 days later, the tables turned. This time they were in Philadelphia. Oubre had the ball with seconds ticking away, driving hard for what could have been the game-winning layup. There was contact, but no whistle. This time it was Oubre left looking at the refs in disbelief.
So I feel like I got fouled. The refs didn't call the foul. Whatever the case may have been, man, I blacked out. I wanted to win that game.
In July of 2024, Kelly Oubre re-signed with the Sixers, a move that seemed pretty straightforward, until about a week later when Philadelphia made a shocking announcement. They were signing Paul George. Oubre's longtime on-court rival was now his teammate. Fans immediately started asking, how was this going to work? Would the locker room survive the tension? Would the history between them explode into more drama? And then something no one expected happened. Soon after, Oubre posted a picture on Instagram. Standing next to him, smiling, was none other than Paul George himself. They had just finished a workout together. Fans couldn't wrap their heads around it. Had the beef really ended this quickly? To the delight of Sixers fans, the answer was yes.
I want to know what it was like for your guys' first conversation. You know, you heard about you were going to Philly, P was going to Philly, and you guys were going to have the opportunity to play with each other. What was the first conversation like?
I think the first thing I said was like, bro, can we take a picture so we can kill all this noise, and it was just dead after that, and now we on the same squad.
Yeah, it was immediate love. You know what I mean? It was immediate love. I didn't even think about none of the, past games or the moments. You competitive, I'm competitive, and when you got two guys competitive matching up against each other, you gonna clash. We showed up in the gym, He was working down on one end. It was like, oh, what's up, bro? Like, man, it feel good being on the same side.
But the much anticipated partnership didn't exactly start off with fireworks. In the preseason, George hyperextended his knee, forcing him to miss the beginning of the season. When he did return, it was only for 41 games. His year was described by many as disappointing. I know some of you are probably wondering why I didn't include Ray Allen going to the Heat or Kevin Durant joining the Warriors. Yeah, those were huge surprises, no doubt. But here's the thing. There wasn't really anything juicy leading up to those moves beef-wise. No heated altercations with the guys they eventually teamed up with. And I'm talking about Ray Allen and Kevin Durant specifically from an individual standpoint, not the other players from their teams who got into it. The real animosity only came after they joined the so-called enemy. I was more looking for stories where the fire was already burning before the alliance was made, not just players who happen to face each other in games. That's the spirit of what we're doing here. Now, I could be wrong, but I think I pretty much covered all the major ones. Again, make sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already.